A very good morning, children. In the previous class, we have discussed the chapter trial balance, what is the meaning of trial balance, features of trial balance, and objectives of trial balance. Then we also saw the format of a trial balance, how to prepare it. Now, today we are going to see actually with a question how we prepare trial balance. Before we go into the question, let us take some very important points into consideration. So, while preparing the trial balance, we need to take care of the following points. Number one, all expenses and losses will be recorded in debit column of trial balance. Number two, assets will also be recorded in debit column of the trial balance, while income and gain will be recorded in credit column of trial balance, and also liabilities will be recorded in credit column of the trial balance. This care should always be taken when you are preparing a trial balance. One more important point, closing stock will not be shown in trial balance. We only represent opening stock in trial balance because closing stock is a part of purchases which we make during the year and also opening stock. So, whatever is the leftover stock at the end of the year, it will not be closed and it will appear as a footnote after the trial balance is prepared. So remember, only opening stock will be shown in trial balance. Closing stock will not be shown in trial balance. We need to be careful. Now let's go into a table where I can show you a few heads what I have described just now. If you see this table, there is a furniture account and we all know furniture is an asset. Therefore, it will always be in the debit balance. Similarly, plant and machinery being an asset will always have a debit balance, so it will be written in the debit column. Discount allowed is a loss. It is an expense, or you can say a loss, so it will appear in the debit balance. Salary is another expense. It will appear in the debit column. Bank overdraft being a liability will always be shown in the credit column of the trial balance. Cash in hand is an asset. It has to appear in the debit column of your trial balance. Creditors being a liability will be appearing in the credit column of the trial balance. Debtors being an asset will always be in the debit column of your trial balance. Similarly, carriage outward, carriage inward, both are expenses, hence debited. Sales is an income for the business, it has to go in the credit column. Purchase is another expense of business, it has to be debited in the trial balance. Interest received, discount received, both are income, so they have to be credited. And lastly, interest paid is an expense, bad debt is a loss, hence they will be debited. So you will never make a mistake of writing an expense in credit column and writing an income in the debit column. That care need to be taken care of by while preparing our trial balance. It's simple journal entry rules which we have learned in the chapter journal entry. Now we will go and see one example how trial balance is prepared. Your examination question will be like this. We will give you and provide ledger balances in the form of a question like you see here. We will not ask you to pass journal entries from transaction and then prepare ledger balances, ledger accounts and subsidiary books and then make a trial balance. Your trial balance question will be a separate question, somewhat like this, where the ledger balances of different accounts of a particular business will be given. So if I read this question, it says prepare a trial balance as on 31st March 2019 from the following ledger balances of Subrata Mukherjee. So if you see the first heading is fixed assets. Remember this is the ledger account fixed assets with a balance of 2,46,000. The next is ledger account of capital which is known as capital account with a balance of 2,50,000, followed by capitalist debtors. Debtors is showing a balance of 20,000. So like I explained you these three, first fixed assets, capital and debtors carrying their ledger account balances. What you have to take care is fixed asset is always a debit because it is an asset. Capital being a liability will always be a credit. Debtors being an asset will always be a debit. Creditors being liability will always be a credit. Based on the nature of the item for the ledger balances, you will take it in the debit and credit column of the trial balance. So we have purchases, sales, return outward, return inward, bills payable, bills receivable, bank overdraft, opening stock, wages, salaries. Then let us now see from the first heading of the ledger account, fixed assets 2,46,000, how we will represent it in the trial balance. So let's see it. Now, see, this is the trial balance. In previous class, we have already discussed you should give a heading trial balance of the name of the business or the proprietor, which is Subrata Mukherjee here, as on 31st March 2019. Since this is prepared on a particular day, which is generally the end of the year or end of the month. Now, the columns stands heads of accounts, LF, debit and credit. Now comes our first posting, fixed assets account. It will go in the debit column 2,46,000. The second ledger is capital account. It is going in the credit column being a liability. Next is debtors balance brought down is 20,000 in the debit column. Similarly, creditors account balance 22,000 is in the credit column. Purchases account being an expense is a debit column, posting 35,000. Sales account being an income has a posting in the credit column 50,000. Returns outward is goods returned by the business to its suppliers. So goods moving out, credit what goes out, you have to write it in the credit column. It's going out of business. Similarly, return inwards is goods coming into the business. Whatever comes into the business is a debit balance. Bills payable will be a liability, therefore it goes in the credit column. Bills receivable is an asset, so it will be debited. Now comes bank overdraft. We all know bank overdraft is a liability. It will go in the credit column. Opening stock is the stock which the business has at the beginning of the year, that is on 1st April. Because this question is ending on 31st March 2019, that means the beginning of the financial year was 1st April 2018. So the stock on 1st April 2018 of this business is known as opening stock, which is an asset. So it is on the debit side of trial balance 7,500. Wages, salaries and rent, each of them is an expense and they are posted in the debit column. And finally, all the ledger balances being posted in the debit and credit column, we do the total, and the total coming is 3,35,500 for the debit side and same total 3,35,500 for the credit column, and that verifies the arithmetical accuracy that the trial balance prepared is correct right from the journal entries to the ledger postings to the subsidiary books and finally the trial balance. Had there been any error in the process of accounting from journal till putting the amount in the debit and credit column, there would be a chance that your debit column will not tally with the credit column. But in this illustration, it has tallied, which means everything has gone correct. Now there is one important thing to understand. Suppose because of some reason your debit column and credit column do not tally. I repeat, if your debit column total is not equal to credit column total, then in that case, what accountants do for temporary solution, they open an account called suspense account and they put the amount of suspense account in the shorter side. If debit side is short, the amount of suspense account will come in the debit column, and if the credit side is short than the debit side, then the amount of suspense account will go in the credit column. and that difference amount is put in either of these column to temporarily match the debit side and credit side of the trial balance. And what is suspense account? We are going to learn about it in the chapter rectification of errors. As the name says, suspense account, so let us keep it as a suspense for the time being. But this is a temporary solution which accountants have to match the trial balance when due to any reason the trial balance is not matching, and they have to prepare the next step financial statement with the help of trial balance. So to temporarily tally the trial balance debit and credit column, a account is opened which is known as suspense account. So that's about our chapter today, trial balance. What I've told you, what are the things to be taken care of? These are the four and the fifth point regarding closing stock. Then we have seen what is the example which will be a part of your question in exam, and then we have seen the solution by preparing trial balance. So trial balance chapter is all about what we have explained in the previous class and today's class. I hope you have understood. Now you should take out questions from the exercise and start practicing, because exams are near and we have already discussed everything in online class also. Thank you all. Take care. Have a very nice day. God bless you all. Keep studying for your examination, which is coming up very soon.